So we've got 4 people on the panel. I'll let them introduce themselves with the first question, so that way we save a little bit of time there. Alex, Dennis, Sean, and Shannon are going to be our panel today. And our first question that was submitted is, what is a good e-learning conference to attend? And also, could you recommend any good e-learning certification programs? So if you have conferences that you like, if you could also put that in the chat. This is also an audience participation one. We want to hear from everyone on this one. Nicole says DevLearn, definitely a good one. So we're going to start with Alex. Alex, if you just kind of introduce yourself, your company, and then also answer the question, good e-learning conference or certification training course.
Hi, Patti. Thank you again. Alex, my company is called TechNet eLearning Services. I've been in the business for 10 years. Started off with learning management systems, actually, and then transitioned to instructional design and course development after 2 or 3 years. So enough about me. Let's go over to the question. I'll probably address the second part of the question first, because it's going to be the shorter answer, I think. And I'm going to say it depends on what you want out of it as far as e-learning certification courses go. I wouldn't go very far into, just take this certification or that. I don't think it's a valid course of action if what you're going for is personal development and expanding your skills. I realize this is a little bit radical maybe, but a 2 or 3 day course, no matter how good, won't help you get better if you don't take the time and commit yourself to get back to your workstation and start applying any principles and any techniques that you're taught. Another way I can put this is, if I have to subcontract somebody, my question to them is never, have you acquired this or that e-learning certification? It's, how much airtime have you had with e-learning or Storyline or whatever other product you're supposed to be using? What do you do in case you have a problem with X, Y, Z? So that's the way I'll understand that this person has had has put in the time to be a good fit for a project. So I guess. Again, the easy answer to this would be, follow one of the well-known articulate workshops. But again, a 2 or 3 day course isn't the answer to everything, I think. Now, as far as conferences go, it's kind of a twofold question. It depends on what you want to be briefed. The easy answer again would be DevLearn or ATD or mLearnCon for the US, eLearning Technologies Expo probably for the UK, and or CSTD for Canada. But essentially, when we're talking about conferences, we should probably break them down to 2 distinct parts: booths or conference floors, whatever, however you want to call it, and workshops. So as far as booths are concerned, I don't really have a lot to say. I've been to a couple of exhibitions before, more than a couple, like Learning Technologies in the UK. That was quite diverse. It catered for techies and educators. I've been to a guide conference, but have I been impressed? No, I'm afraid not. I first of all, I have the utmost respect for just about every exhibitor out there, because I've been one in the past, and I can tell you the work that's being done those 2 or 3 days. It's excruciatingly tiring. But having said that, I can't say I'm really impressed from what I've seen the past 10 years. It's like, to me, there's nothing new out there. It's more like, hey, we got a new LMS, totally revolutionary. It has everything our old LMS had, with kind of a different marketing approach. So it's in that respect, it's kind of a little bit like putting lipstick on a pig, I think. So not all of the blame goes to vendors and exhibitors, but I'll leave that for a later talk probably, and move on to workshops, which is, I think, the most interesting part of this, because workshops is kind of like going to the cinema and watching a movie without watching a trailer. So let's say all you know about is the title, the director, probably the cast or something. So, my take on this is, if you go to a Rob Schneider movie, you'll probably want to ask for your money back by the end of the film. But, you signed up for that rather than the Kubrick film, so it's on you. For example, I didn't attend DevLearn this year, but if I did, I would have signed up for David Anderson's workshop at Articulate, or Kevin Thorne's, and they ran on a different day, if I remember correctly. So it would have been an easy choice. I guess what I'm trying to say, and just to close this off, is it's easier to predict a good workshop when a known quantity is involved. So for me, look for established professionals, unless a topic is really that appealing to you, in which case you could that could play a bigger role than the cast. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Alex. I think you hit on a couple of really great points. And Christy also made a note of, asking people, like, what do you do when you run into a problem, when you are interviewing them to work with you? And then also the fact that, it's really in our hands. It's like, if we go to a workshop or something like that, it depends on what we do with it. So thank you very much for that. So we'll move on to Dennis. So Dennis, same thing. Introduce yourself, your company, and conferences or certification training courses.
Yeah, thanks, Patti. I'm Dennis Hall. I'm the founder of LearningTemplates.com. Regarding the first question, have I ever attended an e-learning conference? No, I would like to, but I never have. I've attended other conferences that were related to those industries I've worked in, but they weren't learning specific conferences. There were learning related aspects to them that I was able to tie into, as well as I did a small presentation at one Rail conference one time, which was related to online learning. Beyond that, there's the question, can you recommend any good e-learning certification training courses? Right off the bat, for me, certification is a certificate, okay? So what that is typically related to will usually be corporate certificates. So you're going to get the Articulates, the Adobes, the product owners who will provide certificate courses on their products. Those courses I've always found to be really quite generic, unless, as Alexandros had pointed out earlier, unless they wind up in a workshop format, which most of them do. However, having said that again, usually I've been the one teaching people on those products. So, like for example, with Storyline, when it first came out as beta, I downloaded it, and within the 30 days, I was getting back to Articulate with, I recall my first email having 31 problems that I had found in the product. And well, and they ended up fixing most of them. They were usually HTML5 issues. But the bottom line is I wound up teaching all my coworkers that. So nobody ended up taking any articulate course. Our neighbors across the street, CN Rail, they had sent a bunch of people on a articulate storyline course, and I later left. This all occurred while I was working for the United Nations. So after I left the United Nations to work at a company where we catered to CN, I took a look at what they had for storyline templates, and they weren't very much. They were pretty basic, but they were good. They were solid. That was what CN was looking for. They were looking for branding and safety in their templates. But the bottom line is, by the time I had made my move, those people who had taken the storyline course were usually gone so certificate courses, they're really industrial. I don't necessarily see those as being anything as in a sense of a formal education. Now that brings me into the differences, though. A training course on being related to e-learning, the only ones that come to mind for me are ed tech type courses that you'll have at university, and these will provide you a bachelor's degree usually in the end. And
Thank you very much, Dennis. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And this is good. We've got some stuff in the chat as well. Okay. Sean, this is Sean's first time on the panel. So welcome, Sean. Introduce yourself, your company, and then, what's a good e-learning conference to attend.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yes.
Good. Sean Delaney is my name. I'm based in Dublin, Ireland here. And I've set up Cobblestone Learning, which does bespoke or customized, I think as you guys in the US use, content. I have recently just transitioning, I suppose, from working in management in e-learning over the last few years, managing instructional design teams in multinationals. So in terms of e-learning specific conferences, I have not gone to one. I guess in Europe, the UK is probably the place to go, I think, in terms of conferences. But I guess I would question the value. I had a conversation quite recently with a friend of mine who runs a educational school, a private school, and their whole company have decided not to go to conferences in 2016 and to reuse that budget for marketing purposes. So I guess it's important to question: are you going to learn, or are you going to network and have business development? So I've attended conferences in other industries, and I think from a learning perspective, personally, I think they're quite worth it. From a networking perspective, I do have my doubts, and especially in terms of taking a stall at these stands. I recently priced a stall for a project that I'm working on, and our total cost was coming in at plus €10,000, and this was for a relatively small stall and not even including all our travel costs. So I guess the real question is, what would you get for that kind of money if you put it into different online marketing? So I guess I would lean heavily towards other things to do. If there is one locally, I mean, by all means, I think it makes sense to go for something like that. So regarding certification, then, so when I addressed this question first, I was really thinking about an academic qualification to back up your skills. So I certainly know from working in multinationals that an academic qualification in e-learning or learning is fairly critical. I've literally recently hired a senior instructional designer, and and a junior instructional designer, and for both positions, academic qualifications were required. I think it's quite different from a freelancing or consulting perspective. I don't think many people really ask for this. I had a situation actually last week where I was pitching for a project which had a university element to it. They were one of the partners involved on the project, and there was actually a lot of questions around academic background when pitching for the project. But I would say after about 10 or 15 minutes of the first meeting, that requirement went out the window. I think once you can prove you have the skills and the experience behind you, purchasers of our product and services really just want to know if you can get the job done or not. So yeah, I'd say not necessarily for our kind of business, but certainly I think critical if working for these large companies.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, and that gives us, it's another good point about also networking. Are you going networking versus learning? So a lot of good nuggets in there. And then last but not least, Shannon, introduce yourself and your company and good eLearning conference to attend or certification course.
Sure. Been listening so much I lost my voice. I own Kick Learning, which I started in 2008. And so I started as a freelancer. I actually started working for another company, as many of us do, and then I went out on my own right in the middle of the fall of 2008 when Lehman Brothers was closing and havoc was happening everywhere. And I went and started a business, but it was great. Best thing I ever did. And so it's interesting. Conferences, my feeling changes on conferences from year to year. But I can tell you in 2008, I went to the Trivantis Lectora conference at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. And that's what gave me the courage to leave my job and start my business. I went 2 days ahead of time for some training. So I was there from Sunday night, flew home on Friday. In my training class, next to me was a person that worked at Canpar, which is like the Canadian equivalent of FedEx, a Canadian parcel service. Behind me were two people from Neighborhood Health Plan, an insurance company in Boston, Massachusetts. And 2 tables back was a great guy from Scotland. And I'm telling you about this because not only did we have an incredible time in Vegas together, just bonding there, but I walked out of there with over $100,000 worth of business. Didn't plan it, didn't have a goal, had no idea. And I wasn't pitching to anybody. The business came from these people next to me and behind me. I got home, I got a $72,000 project from that Canadian parcel service to do a 12-module sales training program. And from Neighborhood Health Plan, just years of business for building custom courses for them. And then the Scottish guy in the back, Ian, works for me now, and he's fantastic. Not only a great developer, but just love the brogue and the sense of humor. So that was a successful conference, and I didn't even plan on it. So it happens. You never know. The magic has not been recreated ever since. And I went to eLearnCon in Austin in June, and I left there saying, I don't think I'm going to go to a conference again where I pay and I'm alone. I did have dinner with some nice other people, but it just wasn't worth the time away from the office for that. So I decided that any conference I go to from now on, I'll just see if they'll accept my a presentation to speak. So sure enough, I'm speaking at ATD Tech Knowledge in Las Vegas in January. Would love to know if anybody's going. My topic is about how to be a freelancer, or not a freelancer, contractor, or what are we calling ourselves? Learning professionals in the learning industry. I got to change my title. So I hope somebody goes. I'd love to meet people from the group. So look, that's conferences. They change. The good ones, bad ones, I don't know. Who knows? Go, try to have fun, try to network and meet other people, but I wouldn't say go with a particular goal. I always go to learn as well. I want to see what's out there. Certifications, I'm a Lectora certified author. Big deal. Nobody cares. Nobody asks. I think it's a waste of time. I don't think it's worth it. So I wouldn't go down that road if I were you, but who knows? I'm scrappy. I just, I learn by doing and just bring the business in and then prove that I can do it. But that might not be the right path for everybody. I'm from Jersey. It's the way we roll here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Shannon. And if you could put the name of the conference that you're going to be at in the chat, that way
sure.
if people, that'd be great. Okay, cool. So we've got a few more minutes. We're going to do one more question and then kind of wrap up here to make sure we get out on time. And the question is, do you have a mentor? And, you know, like when we start out, you kind of need someone, you know, that's why we have this group. This is one of the reasons where we can learn and grow and then share our wisdom. So do you have a mentor? If so, how did you get them? And this is talking about when you're starting out. If anybody has answers to that, of if they have a mentor, if you type it in the chat. And we're going to start with Dennis this time.
Thanks, Patti. Short answer, I've never had a mentor. I have mentored 9 people, though, that I've directly worked with. And I do find that actually in the various learning development forums, I really like a lot to help people. So I continue to be a mentor in that sense, even though I'm not no longer directly in a coworker environment. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you. Short and sweet. Let's all do what Dennis did. We got about 8 minutes. Okay, Sean, mentor?
Okay. Yeah, I really, really love this question. So kudos there for putting this one in. I do. Luckily, I do. And I genuinely believe you should really try and find mentors in multiple different parts of your life. Even things you kind of think you know how to do, or you'd have a good go at it, go get a mentor. I, at the moment, have a mentor looking at things like strategy and finance for the business. This was somebody I luckily got from a local government department. That was a service that was available. And really, in terms of the knowledge, but also the speed, how quickly I got things like business plans together and financials together, that might have taken me weeks and weeks, you know, on my own. And another person working around business development that kind of acquired through a friend of a friend. And again, you know, you don't know what you don't know. So if there's any opportunity to get mentors, go get it. And I just say, finally, one of my big concerns going out on my own was not having, especially around the learning design part, not being able to collaborate with others and maybe sitting out on my own at home on the design part. So I think that's fantastic. People like this group that maybe share knowledge with as well. So yes, for mentors.
Awesome. And how did you get your mentors, Sean? Is it just like friends of friends, like you said, or is it just friends that you know?
One was a friend of a friend that kind of came through off the back of a project, actually. And then the other, as I said, was literally from a government department, where they had a service available, and the person was just excellent.
Okay, so. Perfect. Thank you. All right, and then on to Shannon.
Whoops, sorry.
That's okay.
Mentors. Look, I believe that you hire people smarter than you. So I haven't necessarily found a lot of mentors along the way, but I'm happy to help others. It's why I joined this group, and I have a lot to learn too. So, but I also hire people that work for me that know, that are experts in their individual specialty, and I learn from them every day. Short and sweet.
Love it. Love it. Okay, and last but not least, Alex. So you got about a minute, Alex. Mentor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope my brother watches this because sometime in the future, because I'm going to pay some pretty big homage right now. Look, I don't have a mentor in e-learning. I'm kind of a cocky guy when it comes to this. I don't like to be told what to do. And I certainly don't like to be instructed by a living organism the last 5 or 6 years for some reason. I did in IT though. And as I said, that's my older brother, Demetrius. He was the first to have a computer and he put the bug in me and everything followed through. I do follow a couple of people very closely throughout the years now though. Mainly Phil Mayer, who was with us last time, and Steve Flowers as well at the Articulate Fora. So you know, I guess you could say I wouldn't mind losing a project to these guys, but you know, everybody else I probably would though. You know, I'd be pretty pissed. But to be fair, you know, it's not about the individual. It's about the style and finding somebody whose style matches yours, and not necessarily shadow them, but just follow them a little closer. Like, I always pay attention to these guys when they write something on the forum, and usually, most of the times, more often than not, I agree with their comments, and that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. I like the idea of, you know, just kind of, it's not like an official mentor, you're just kind of shadowing what someone's doing. I like that. So, okay, we got about 3 minutes left. I'm going to turn it over to Ant for just a quick second. I'm going to do a quick poll and then we're out. Over to you, Ant. And you are on mute, just so you know.
Cool. Okay, guys. Can you see my Slack?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So just a quick one today. We've had another good week with Slack. Quite a lot of conversations going on. So if you haven't already joined, you just need to drop me a quick email and at eLearningArchitect.co.uk, and I'll send you an invitation. Couple of tips on using Slack. Let me just get rid of these faces. If you've written a message and you've made a spelling mistake or you want to change your mind, if you go over to the right-hand side of Slack, you've got the option to edit your messages, which is quite useful. You can change the spelling or update things that you've written. Obviously, you can't change other people's messages, otherwise we could be getting into some dangerous territory there. And also something else, a nice feature that I think is really useful is adding reactions. So if you like what somebody's written, you can give them a thumbs up. And then if you give somebody a thumbs up, other people can just click on that thumbs up each time. They don't have to keep adding reactions. And, you know, you can see if people agree with what you're saying. And another really cool feature that I've been using a little bit is if you want to star a message. So if somebody's written a message and you want to kind of bookmark it for future reference, just next to the message, we can see Tammy's name here. She's written a nice long message there. Let's say I want to remember that message for future reference. Just click on the star, and then you can go up to your starred messages in the top right-hand corner, and you can see all of the things that people have starred in the past, which is a great way of remembering stuff. So, yeah, drop me an email if you want to join Slack, and I'll invite you. And, yeah, that should be good to go.
Thanks, Ant. And then if you'll just put your email address in the in the chat, that would be great. Okay, really quick, we've got a poll, and I couldn't have kicked it off even any better. Christy had or I think it was actually Shannon mentioned this kind of earlier about specialties. So quick, just put it in the chat. Do you ever have the need to find people by specialty? So graphic designers, voiceover artists, developers, to help you with projects. If so, would it be helpful to have a list of these folks? Something we're thinking about doing is possibly putting in Slack, putting in a category for specialists in these areas. And then if we've worked with them, we can put that in as well. People can come in and kind of post their portfolios, and then we can find people easily that way. So looks like a few people think that would be a good idea. If you have any suggestions about how you would like to see that, let me know. And that's something that I'm running into because I just need other people to help with their specialties. So I just thought maybe everyone else is. Cool. All right. So our next meeting is on December 10th. And there's no need to register. We're going to try this new, simpler format out. You should have an invite in your calendar. If you want to submit questions, you can submit them on Slack or send them to me directly. And also let me know if you'd like to participate in a future panel. Thanks, you guys, and have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend.